This is a podcast about both having autism and living with someone who has autism. My mom is Sonya, and I'm Josh, and this is Josh Has Autism.
Hey everybody, welcome to Josh Has Autism.
Hello.
I'm in a much better mood than last week, Josh.
Yeah?
Yes, there's been a lot of changes, a lot of good things that are happening.
Yeah.
You know about some of them.
Yeah.
But last week I was just feeling kind of stuck and overwhelmed and responsible for everybody.
Yeah.
And, you ever heard of a guy named Wayne Dyer?
Yes.
You've probably heard me talk about him before. I've had books around here and different things.
Yeah.
Well, he said something that I thought was pretty cool. One of his quotes is that, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. You know what that means?
Yes, but I can't formulate it into words.
Okay, so change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. Which means all you need is a shift in perception. All you need is a little bit of a variance from... You might be stuck at looking at something one way.
Thinking outside the box is one way of saying that then.
Right. And if you let go of that old way, like in this case where I was feeling kind of crummy about stuff, just looking at it different, just dealing with it different, just experiencing things different. I know you're looking at me like you don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I get it.
Okay. Because,
my eyes are glazed over a little bit because my contacts are fuzzy.
Yeah. One time I was wearing a contact and I lost it, but it went behind my eyeball.
Oh.
And it was stuck there for, it was like a day, I guess. It wasn't.
Yeah, but that's still painful.
Long. It was weird. Like, I didn't know what happened to it. I was rubbing my eyes and stuff, and I didn't know what happened to it. And then, later on, here it comes. I'm like, ew. It's all wadded up and...
Oh, yeah.
It's just gross. Yeah. But what I realized through all of this, and I wanted to talk to you and ask you some questions about how you change your way of thinking on subjects ever. If you can, if it works.
I was going to say, me and change, really?
Yeah, right. But what happened with me is that I was feeling this kind of bogged down feeling. We were talking about buying a house. We were talking about moving forward. Mm-hmm. And I just had this mindset, this kind of panicky feeling like I have to take care of everybody. I have to provide for everybody and make sure that everybody has a place to live and and the funny thing about that is nobody asked me to do that.
Yeah.
None of you.
Yeah.
You're all doing just the opposite instead of that, you know? You're saying that it's time for me to choose what I want, you know, for me to be happy and and it was I guess that turning point where I just really felt like I just can't go down that path anymore. It has to be different, and I have to be part of the equation all the time. Now, I have to put myself first in some ways, which is something that I've never done before. Because you've been in my life for...
Over 30 years.
A long time, yes, 32 years. And... your needs have always just been something that just kind of was like this pattern that I got into of maybe putting the things that would make me happy, in like the back burner.
Right.
And what I realized is that's not helping anybody.
Right.
And it's certainly, there's a saying that says if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. And I think that that's true. And for the most part, it's not like I've been miserable for all these years. I don't want it to sound like that.
Right.
Recently, when it comes to, we're in this apartment, coming to find a house, at the point where we're looking for a house to buy, and then feeling like I need to choose a house based on what you need. or I have to choose location based on what the kids need or whatever it is. And it was just really making me feel kind of
you were getting
stagnant.
kind of not crabby, but a little bit well, yes, a little bit
it was
crabby.
crabby.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you were getting a little bit
Stuck, frustrated.
yes, that's a good word.
Yeah.
Frustrated.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And so I realized, though, that it wasn't working. And when I'm talking today about when you focus on something, what happens when you focus on something in a certain way. And I know that I had been feeling trapped in regards to responsibility. But then I realized what I was doing, and I realized that it wasn't working for me, that it didn't feel good, that that's not what anybody's asking of me. And I just kind of gave up my voice, I guess, in some things, because I felt like I don't know, there's like this thing that in my head, this tape kind of goes around that's like, if I'm a good mom, I'm going to do this. If I'm a good gammy, I'm going to do this.
Which gammy is what
the kids call me, yeah. But it was kind of like an awakening, because I realized I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that anymore. And
that sounds way too conformist for you.
What?
That thing that you said was going on in your head?
Which is probably why I was so miserable.
Yeah.
Because I don't...
Yeah.
They really conform too much. Yes, you're absolutely right. Which is probably why I was just miserable, and it got to a point where it was kind of like, I felt this overwhelming frustration and stuckness in order to really choose differently. And so for a while, when that, kind of like I'm saying, that tape was going on in my head, I think it probably feeds into the part of not being good enough, or together enough, or all that stuff. And one thing happens. I just had a birthday this month, and women had told me before that when you get to a certain age, you really stop caring what other people think. And I don't mean you or dad or the family, not that I don't care what you guys think, but you just get to a point in life where you just go, whatever, I'm just going to do what I need to do. And I think that kind of happened. And I think that when I said, nope, I don't want the house with the basement that we can convert for you to live in. I don't want that house. I don't want to live there. I want to live in a different location. And something pretty amazing happened, that as soon as that shifted in me, and I was no longer going to settle for something that I didn't want, the perfect house showed up. In the location that I love.
Yeah.
It's all on one floor.
Yeah.
So that when I become decrepit, I can scooch around easily enough.
I can't see that happening.
Not yet.
You becoming decrepit, I mean.
You're right. I hopefully it's not for a long time. But it was just interesting, and the reason I want to talk to you about this today is because this was a time in my life where I felt like I had to take on this responsibility for everybody else. I just had one mindset. Like, I had to make it okay for everybody. So what I'm talking about is you. I'm talking about the grandbabies. I'm talking about my mom and dad, so Nana and Pappy. And they're moving up here. How can I accommodate everybody in a home? And the answer is I can't. I can't. And I just realized and discovered kind of what I want in the whole process. And so that's what I did. And so we put in an offer, and it was accepted. Ta-da! So we're in the process of buying a house. The inspection was yesterday.
Yeah.
And hopefully the closing date is set for November 30th. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It's so I'm real excited. My point is that whenever that shift took place,
Mm-hmm.
whenever I put myself in the mix, and thought, what do I want? Things just kind of opened up, and everything seems lighter, and everybody seems happy, and things are moving along,
Well, you said it earlier. Mama ain't happy. No one's happy.
Yeah, this is true. But when it comes to changing, it's interesting though. Through all of this, I was thinking about you get a mindset and a way of doing something, and that's what sticks with you.
Yes.
And changing that is very difficult.
Yes.
And so, what's that like for you? Has there ever been a time in your life where you go, well, that's not working, now I'm going to do it a different way?
I can actually tell you one right now.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, working on projects with other kids.
With other kids?
Well, not necessarily kids, but other students.
Mm-hmm.
I, for the longest time, even sometimes still, have this mindset where my idea is going to work, why won't you listen to me?
Right. But I guess what I'm talking about specifically
Mm-hmm.
is that not so much what other people are doing, but internally.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm getting to it.
Okay. All right.
What I've realized, especially since doing these podcasts with you,
Mm-hmm.
is that I've realized that my way of thinking that my way is the best way isn't the answer. It's that I have to understand that other people have just as valid opinions as I do. You're widening your eyes.
Well, I'm gonna marking down the date and the time. This is like a new. I'm laughing, but I'm not laughing at you, honey. I'm just thinking.
I know. I'm just staring at you.
I know. So you realized that's amazing. Yes,
And
that's something that I never thought that I would hear you say. That's fantastic.
yeah, and going back to the project thing,
Mm-hmm.
what that pointed out to me
Mm-hmm.
was that it's not that other people won't listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's that I need to listen to other people.
Wow. That's life-changing.
Yeah.
Now, are you able to put that in action?
That's where I still sometimes have difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely almost a paradigm shift, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Mm-hmm.
And it just that small shift
Yeah.
changes the focus of how I think completely.
Mm-hmm.
So it's understandable that it hasn't happened right away.
Well, I would say, too, that even while you've been growing up, when you would go to therapy,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, you would have a hard time taking what you learned in the office and applying it real time.
Right.
So that's
Because it
been
wasn't real
difficult.
time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what I think you're saying is that that's what you're experiencing right now. Like you're kind of in the midst of that, just beginning to apply this new concept, this new, like you say, a shift
Yeah.
that's taken place.
Yeah.
And so how do we help you with that?
Listen to me more? No. No. Just occasionally remind me that, hey, try and think it through in a different way.
Well, there's going to be a lot of opportunity here soon because there's there's quite a few moves that are taking place. So your sister Bug is moving into a house this weekend. RJ, who was her husband, are separated. Your brother-in-law, he's moving into their apartment back home from Pennsylvania, back here. Going to be in the apartment below us. My point is that there's always been it's been very difficult moving with you. Because when furniture has to be moved, when things need to be placed,
Yeah.
I can just hear you saying, I pick it up, I put it down.
I pick things up and put them down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get very rigid when that happens.
Yeah.
So do you think we can work on that during these moves that are going to take place?
We can certainly try.
Okay.
I hope it works.
Okay. When I ask you how can we help you with this?
That's way too broad.
Okay.
It's
okay. Are you able to verbalize? Do you think you're going to be able to verbalize when you're trying to see things from our point of view? So, historically, and your way has been the way that you want it done. Sometimes it's hard for you to see that any other way can work other than your way.
Yeah.
So, would you be able to say to us, I'm trying to see it from your point of view? And that lets us know that you're working on...
Yeah. I can definitely do that. I mean, as it stands right now, I just have difficulty verbalizing that.
Okay.
It's because usually whenever you try to explain something to me and I'm not getting it, sometimes I'm able to tell you, hey, try to explain this to me a little bit differently. But I'm not always able to do that.
No. But I can tell because the body language, the clenched fists, you walking away from me. So I can catch on. But for me, this felt like a crisis of emotions that I just went through.
Yeah.
Like a feeling of being stuck and not being able to really experience life the way I want to.
Right.
And it was just what I was holding myself to, not from anybody else. And for you, this is not what you're describing. It's not an emotional crisis.
Right.
You're pretty steady with what you think is right and how you think things work.
Right. And that is the crux of the matter. Is that I'm right and you're not. At least in my mind, it's not so much that you're not, it's that I'm more right.
Correct. I hear what you're saying. And I've seen it in action a gazillion times. So yes, I know what you're saying. And that's my whole point, is that you don't have to have autism to get stuck in a pattern of thought.
Right.
Which is what I just went through.
Right.
And thank goodness that with all the whole family, you, Dad, everybody, was basically said to me, do what you need to do for you.
Yeah.
And and I'm so grateful for that and appreciative that the family is like a loving family like that and supportive.
Yeah.
But if somebody's stuck, sometimes it takes a little bit of work to get out of being stuck.
Yeah.
And with you, it's a pattern. And it's that rigid way of thinking.
Right.
That things have to be done in a certain way.
Right.
So how did you come to the understanding that you just described where you can begin to see something from somebody else's point of view.
Years and years of therapy for one.
Yeah, but why did it just click?
It didn't just click, per se. It was an aha moment, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But actually implementing that aha moment into a workable thing,
Right.
is what I am still having a little bit of difficulty with.
Right.
So it's not so much that this new aha moment isn't working, it's that my mind is already ingrained with this original mindset.
Right.
And so it makes it so that it's difficult to move forward.
Right. Right.
And
so, is it hard for you to see that there's an alternative? Because sometimes we will give you a choice, or we'll excuse me, try to get you to see that something else can work also.
mm-hmm. It's more so that I get stuck in my ways sometimes.
Mm-hmm. You get stuck in your ways or in your way?
Yes.
Like, I resemble that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've heard the term you are your own worst critic.
Yes.
So I have a point in bringing that up.
That's cool.
Don't be condescending to me.
No.
No, it's difficult for me to, like, my right off the bat reaction to something is, okay, but why can't we do it my way? So I've made it to the point where I try and get someone to explain their reasoning to me.
Right, and I would even go back further, and at times still today, it's like there's just anything that's a variable from your straight line is unacceptable. So whatever it is, if something is a change of time, a change of plans, if the kids storm in the house and you're just sitting down to, eat lunch and read your book, and they come in, it's outside of what you expected, and so it's really hard for you to adapt, but to see that that's that was going to be this way, it was going to be this way, and now it's this way. That's difficult.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The unexpected changes are really difficult for me, yes. The changes where I have a say in something, and you guys are not agreeing with my thoughts. Or not just you guys, but just others in general not agreeing with my thoughts.
Right.
If it can be explained to me, usually I can wrap my thoughts around it and either incorporate it into my thoughts or adapt to that way of thinking.
And which is
a huge deviation from even high school.
Right. I agree.
Where I just couldn't adapt like that.
And there are things that we do on a regular basis when going back to the house that we're buying now. It was my choice and your dad's choice to get this house for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew that you were feeling uncomfortable about it, and we requested that you would have a time, that the sellers would make time, that you would be able to go and walk through and take your time.
Yeah.
And that's important to me because there's a number of rooms.
Yeah.
You know, it was important to me so that you could begin to visualize and, you know, make that decision. So I wanted you to choose, which room do you want?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a poorly phrased sentence.
Yeah, I got it though.
Okay. So you could choose, you know, the room that you want. Which one is it? It's yours.
Mm-hmm.
And to see where things are and how things are set up.
Mm-hmm.
That's important for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that you have time to
wrap my head around it and everything. Yeah.
Right. Just like when you got the car right away.
Yeah.
It didn't really sink in for a few days that you had a car. And you just kind of need that time. You need to, you know, have that time to get accustomed to the new, whatever it is, the new car, the new home, the new environment, experience, situation.
Yeah.
It's always when something's sprung on you, you don't like that at all.
Right.
Which is why the kids flinging open the door and flying in the house.
Oh my gosh. They're like little bees. They're just all over the place and just flitting from one thing to the next immediately.
They are.
They're also loud. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They are very loud. And so I want to know, was there a catalyst where this shift took place in your understanding, in your perception, in the importance of listening to other people?
Yeah.
What was it?
If my memory is serving me correctly and I'm thinking of the right thing, it was actually at college. Whenever I had a group project.
Oh, mm-hmm.
And one of the you could either work alone or in a group.
Mm-hmm.
And the group that I initially got with, we couldn't agree on things. So we ended up going our own way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was for an egg drop. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, you've talked about that before on the podcast. Your egg drop, yeah.
But it was in a car. Instead of a drop per se, it goes down a track and immediately stops at the very bottom.
Oh, okay.
And you had to prevent it from breaking at the very bottom.
Okay.
Of course, I remember someone actually dropping it over the side on accident, but I remember that my idea had merit, but it didn't work properly.
Mm-hmm.
And the professor took me aside afterwards. He's like, "Hey, I know you had a great idea. These guys that were doing this project, not in your group, but in all the other groups, they all had great ideas. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. But they're all different ideas. So for them to have an idea that works doesn't mean that their idea is worse than yours. Doesn't mean that it's better than yours.
Mm-hmm.
You have to try and listen to all the different ideas and talk it through and try and come up with different ideas and just do the best with what you have.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of how his speech went. But
Right.
And it wasn't even a speech. It was just a one-on-one with me.
Right. And so that impacted you because you realized that other people have a different approach or a different opinion or a different idea. And it doesn't take away from yours. It's just different.
Exactly. That was how he said it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take away from yours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And so, again, so that I understand, because I know that you have the clarity. I'm the one without the clarity here.
Mm-hmm.
How do we help you to be in that frame of mind when we're working on something together? So, again, we're about to move.
Mm-hmm.
We are moving, November, December.
Mm-hmm.
Your sister's moving, starting this evening.
Yeah.
This weekend.
Yeah.
RJ's moving down.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be where you're going to be asked, hey, can you help us out here?
Yeah.
How can we help? Is there something that we can do differently to help you to be more comfortable, to have communication on both sides work effectively? Or that's, I guess what I'm saying is, is there a tangible you can give us?
Right now, I can think of one at least.
Okay.
And that is that if you have a set idea for something,
Mm-hmm.
for where something should go or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
before we start unpacking, or even before we start packing to move,
Uh-huh.
let me know where you want to put it. So I can visualize it there, and I can ask you questions about it if I have questions.
So it's just like when we're going to do something, I've gotten into the habit of telling you how things are going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to tell you, we're going to go to the store, we're going to buy groceries, we're going to put them in the trunk, we're going to drive them home, and then we're going to bring them in the house and put them away.
Right.
There was a time that I did that, though.
Yes.
So you don't need that much detail, but so if you saw the place before, so let's just say we go to Haley's house and you take a look, and
Mm-hmm.
you go in and you look at the house before things are brought in from the truck.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're told, these are items that are going.
In a certain room.
That's helpful to you?
Yes. Very much so.
Okay.
Yeah. Because and not only that, but it also helps with, if I know where all the things are going,
Mm-hmm.
I can then also in my head plan which one should go in first. Like if something has to go on top of something else once it's in the room and it's not in there yet, obviously that second thing that the thing goes on top of has to go in first.
Right. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And so, like, when we move,
Mm-hmm.
Say we're taking the couch in,
Mm-hmm.
do you want to go in and look at that space first and have an idea of that? Because I would probably tell you, this is how it would typically go for us. This is how it works.
Mm-hmm.
I would say to you, we're going to bring the couch in, and I'm thinking that I might want it here, but I'm not sure just yet. What do you think?
Yeah.
That's how our conversations go.
Yeah.
This time we're talking about a couch, but I mean it,
Right. Right.
It's kind of like our conversations. I give you details and include you in the the decision making. Was that helpful to?
Oh yeah. It is, because you're listening.
Mm-hmm.
That's all there really is to it, is that you're listening and taking my ideas into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you reject those ideas, I prefer to have an explanation as to why.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can give me those explanations rather than say because we say so.
Right.
That is one of the worst things you could tell me.
I think it's one of the worst things any kid could hear.
I know, because
they said so.
Yeah, it's so frustrating because we want to understand.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much that we're questioning you.
Mm-hmm.
It's that we're questioning why things are happening the way that they are.
And I can tell you that there have been times that even though I understand that, I can be so exhausted.
Yeah.
And so frustrated that...
I've said it to the kids.
Well, I mean, even with anything, you know, since a move is coming up, I mean, you think about that. You're moving stuff, you're tired, all these decisions that have had to be made.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Having all these questions and everything brought to you, that's just too much.
Well, it can be.
Yeah.
You know, it can be. It can feel that way. It can kind of feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
But, so I do understand your need to have things explained. And what I'm saying to you is that sometimes, even though there may be the best of intentions, it's just, whether it's frustration or exhaustion or just not having an answer.
Yeah.
You know, you're not able to get that clear-cut answer that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool that you learned something before and then now you're really trying to implement it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Is it working?
Bit by bit.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes there are times where I'm just in the opposite, not setting, but like the opposite feeling of I just want this done with.
Right, yeah.
Do it my way. Please, just do it.
I've heard that before too. And we're like, yeah, okay. We all could use a break, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good for now. It's done.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a question. I don't know if this is even going to make any sense, but what I described earlier is that I had a perception of the way that what my responsibility was, what I needed to do for everybody else. It's kind of like, it's ridiculous, kind of like, you know.
You're not Atlas.
Well, might as well be like, you know.
Do you know who that is?
Yes.
Okay.
So, not a martyr.
Oh.
And you know, yet I had this mindset and this perception that I needed to make sure that everybody else was okay. And in the process, that's too tall of an order.
Yeah.
And I became very much not okay during the process.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering about is, when you think about your life, you think about what you're doing and how things are arranged, do you have those thoughts, like, about your happiness and about how you feel just any given day? Do you do things that what I'm asking, I guess, is that something that's a cognitive thought that you have about your well-being, about your happiness?
It's not a common thought.
Is it because things are just so particular for you that that's what makes you happy? When things are a pattern and you know what to expect? So outside of that strays from the way that you function?
It's not so much that as it is like I can I am, whenever I have those thoughts, it is usually in conjunction with me being in my room on my bed.
Okay.
Whether I'm reading and it pops up like that and just in my head, or if it just...
Well, okay, so that's something that you do on a regular basis. So that's your refuge. That's when the kids are around or whatever.
Yeah.
You go and you lay on your bed and you read your books.
Yeah.
Right.
So but even then, it's not an often occurrence that I have those kind of thoughts of am I happy with the status quo kind of thing.
Okay. Right. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes I'm content.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily happy, but content.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I am happy.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes I just want things to be different.
Yeah.
So it's whether it be not having the kids run into my room calling for me, or
We put a stop to that.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they still open up my door though.
They knock first?
No,
All right. I'll have to remind them.
yeah,
Sorry about that. I've been trying to make sure that they knew to knock first.
yeah, I appreciate that.
What you're describing is the same thing that I just went through, which is, and in the quote that I said first thing,
Mm-hmm.
Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. When you begin to look at things in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
the possibilities become available.
Yeah,
And knowing that you have a hard time changing your thought patterns,
mm-hmm.
you can pinpoint though when you're not happy.
Yeah,
You can work on changing that.
sometimes, yeah. I mean, for several months now, it's not been depression, surprisingly,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
which is a great thing.
It is.
Ever since the TMS therapy.
Right.
Um,
That was an amazing treatment that you had. That
Yeah.
was fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm depressed at times.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I just am not happy with the way things are.
I got it. What it looks like to me from over here
Mm-hmm.
is that you're beginning to want more. It looks like you're beginning to want to have things on your own terms.
Yeah.
I mean, living with us, you live
Yeah.
at home, it's done our way, it's our stuff,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Our stuff meaning you have your own
Your
place.
pots and pans
Exactly.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I was going to say silverware. So we're,
Yeah.
we're both thinking about the same thing here, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I've been kind of seeing this kind of like stirring of
Yeah.
I want something different, I want something more, I want something that's equals more independence.
Right.
And
Which, by the way, all my plates and bowls are now gone except for one bowl. Or two bowls. And they had been used since Pensacola.
oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Did
Did they break or something?
Yeah.
Or, oh, okay.
Some of them chipped,
Oh.
so we had to throw them away. Most of the glasses in there are mine.
They are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or at least the older ones were.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well,
Anyway.
yeah. So, okay, cool. So back to what we're talking about, which is that I'm really feeling like I just had this experience where my perception was shifted
Mm-hmm.
and I saw things differently. And then the things that I feels like I had more say-so.
Yeah.
The circumstances didn't change.
Right.
My perception changed.
Right.
And so,
And I completely understand that. one of the things that I've noticed, from my perception at least, is that I have to make myself think. Like if somebody tells me something, I have to force myself to think: Are they saying things as they're saying it? Like, I usually take things at face value.
Right.
I have to force myself to think: Are they not meaning it at face value? And so it makes that makes things infinitely harder at times. Is trying to understand what people are actually saying.
Right. Huh. So that's like this complication added to the mix.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, we're just having a conversation about where we're going to put the couch. And you're going, well, what do you mean by that? Is that what you mean? Is this what you mean? Is this what we're going to do? So I understand that even when it comes down to it, since we're talking about a move, pulling the truck in, face forward there, or backing it in, that's something that bothers you.
Yeah.
It's you.
But especially when Dad just goes and does things.
Right. Well, we're working on Dad. We're working on Dad. We tell him all the time, use your words.
Yeah.
Because he gets this mindset of let's get this done, and nobody knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And so...
then he just does things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is a huge issue that I have when we're moving and things like that. But
yeah, me too. All of us.
Yeah.
We're like, say something.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. Well, I anyways about wrap this up. I just want to know: are you looking forward to moving? Or
Yes
you don't know
and no.
yet? Okay.
I mean, it's been a prospective thing for months now. Us looking for a house. So it's. I've been ready to move, but at the same time, I like it here. So it.
You could do without walking up 2 flights of stairs every time you come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do without that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I'll keep you informed. Everything that I hear all along the way, the steps that are being taken, and the inspection was done yesterday. Everything came back great.
Cool.
No troubles.
Awesome.
So it's
thank
very
you.
cool. Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna put this into action this weekend and have conversations with you, and so that we'll see if we can communicate more effectively, and so that you don't get stressed as much with the move.
Yeah.
Listening to what you say and asking for you to listen to us.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, cool. Yeah. All right. Well, life is better this week.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. So I hope everybody out there is having a safe time doing what you're doing. I was going to say wonderful. It's so difficult because everybody's like kind of stuck in, and then you go out and you do things and you wear a mask and then you don't do something because you're concerned about it. It's, never know. But I hope everybody is doing happy and is happy and you're doing well and you're healthy. So
that was such a butchered English sentence.
Again, I know. I know. I don't care. I'm not changing it. All right. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. Love you.
Bye.